My name is Amol Nirgudkar. I'm the CEO of Patient Prism, and this morning we have Jon Fidler from Fidler Associates talking about executive search, executive recruiting, the importance of hiring executives in your organizations as you build your DSO for its next journey. And the question I have for you, Jon, is really, where do you find these people? Right? Obviously, over the years we've found people on, Monster.com. Obviously, that's not as popular now. There's recruiting sites like ZipRecruiter. You can push an ad on there. So where do you find really high-level C-suite executives? Because I don't think they're putting their resumes out like that.
Yeah, no. So so that's kind of the secret sauce. Is that behind what do you pay people for certain positions is where do you find them is the next question. And so there's many different ways we go about it. So what I tell people is number one is the network that we've developed. Through our years in dentistry, that has been our number one thing is to, we usually know somebody, kind of the one person removed at least if we need to. And like you said, most folks at this level are not putting their resumes out, on a mass website, because if you go on there, you're going to get mass results, and that's not really the type of position that we're trying to fill. So there's a lot of smiling and dialing, which is the fun part for our sourcing folks. There's the network, and then there is, just kind of checking around. Most people that are looking for positions don't even have their resume out there anyway. Right. We call them passive candidates. And so, the good folks are usually employed. They're doing great things, and so those companies want to keep them.
And they're not looking for it.
And they're not looking. And so that's kind of our little secret. And there's, different paths. We have, some software that we use, just a mixture of a bunch of different things. But it really comes down to networking, smiling and dialing, and some maybe assistance from some software.
I've heard lately LinkedIn has been really, really amazing in looking at who's out there, right? Do you guys use the LinkedIn tool to kind of connect with some people?
Sure. Yeah, and that's one of the sources that we'll use. And what that does is it tells us, hey, we're connected here, or we're connected here. And what we try to do is, like attracts like. And so typically we'll know somebody within the group, and if they're connected to them and have a strong relationship with them, number one, we can call them and ask them. Number two is, hey, it gives us some different opportunities to look around. But there's also other software. But yeah, typically LinkedIn's a very good tool for us.
But it's you can't just connect with somebody. You got to have some common bond or connection for them to even respond back, right? You can't just mass send out emails or those LinkedIn things to clients.
Yeah, at this level, it's definitely a one-on-one conversation. And so whether we ask to get referred in by folks, whether we just reach out directly and folks do return, because you never know. You never know what they're looking for, or if they're in a spot and they either contact us and say, hey, we'd like to learn more about it, or hey, we're okay, or but then that helps us develop another network, person within the network as well.
I mean, and so the role of an as an executive search firm, where do you start? Where do you start the process? Is it one place or is it many places? How do you start this?
So it depends. So typically, the first thing we do is sit down with the client and say, hey, give us the perfect candidate. Let's start with these 20 things and say, okay, here's what we want in this candidate. So we start with a very focused, narrow field. If we can get somebody that doesn't have to relocate or try to save on expenses or anything, but we still find the right candidate, that's where we start. And then then we'll get broader as the search goes. If we're not finding the luck, whether they're not in the salary range, or whether they maybe live in Texas, but the job is in California. So we typically start with a very narrow talent pool, and then expand if needed to expand.
But you're kind of using all your resources, online, offline, making some phone calls.
Software, just kind of knowing the industry, going to trade shows. And, we just wrapped up with a big trade show, and so we hear things at that, and that leads to different connections and networks and who's looking and who's not, and so so it's definitely a mixture of everything, and then we just kind of put the puzzle pieces together.
Right, and that's what I think I see the value of executive recruiting, because you want that right candidate, and you want somebody that And then sometimes if we try to advertise it ourselves, we're going to get a pool of candidates. Most of them are not going to be good because they don't fit within that. So,
yeah, or they're out looking for a reason.
Absolutely,
and so,
right.
So you definitely don't want to limit your talent pool. I think that's the number one reason that
Sure.
Maybe executive recruiting helps, but
Sure.
is to go after, use the network, and then broaden the pool to make sure that you get the right candidate.
That's great, wonderful. I think it's really, really important to take this seriously and to be able to look at all options, including executive search, especially if you're trying to find a C-level
Sure.
guy or girl. So wonderful, great discussion. We'll continue the conversation moving forward, but
all right.
Thank you, Jon.
Yeah, thank you.